amazing career change into the world of software development. Tell us a little bit about what you did before you were in software.
Yes, so I actually always thought I wanted to be a scientist. I guess it came with the background because my mom is a dentist, my grandparents were doctors. Not from a very young childhood, but when I went to like secondary school and stuff, I was always interested how the human body works, especially on the cellular level. And I did the whole lot. I basically did bachelor, I did master degrees, I did MPhil, I did PhD. Wow. I even got like a very prestigious Wellcome Trust scholarship to do my PhD.
Wow!
And it was in Cambridge. Yeah.
Yes.
It was amazing. I love my PhD, really, especially in Cambridge, in the hub full of scientists, like the best knowledge.
That must have felt amazing.
It was really good. What I loved in my PhD was like the puzzle experience, that you had lots of different research and you had to put everything together. Then my job started to be kind of like boring and I felt stuck. And especially in my last job, it was like very controlled. Right. And I basically didn't feel myself. I even was losing confidence. I sometimes even seriously had to look at LinkedIn. I was like, I do have a PhD. I'm clever. I am good. I'm not just some garbage. It's sometimes how I really felt.
Wow. So tell me about how you so you got to this point, this pivotal point, you thought, this job is not inspiring me anymore. What did you do then?
So actually something else happened beforehand, slightly before, because my husband at the time, he was an IT support person, so he was doing the hardware, and he decided that he wants to change his career and he wants to become a web developer. So just one day, out of the blue, he bought a Udemy course on sale, like for 10 or 20 pounds, and he started, and he started doing this web development course. And I was like, what are you doing? And, at the time, I basically knew nothing about computers. I could probably turn it on and off. Seriously. Like my first computer, I bought my first computer when I was writing my bachelor thesis. So, my knowledge about computers was really bad, but I found it really interesting. And, he had the course, so I just did it with him. I actually finished the course before he did.
So classic. Brilliant.
And
so that happened and you thought, oh, there's something here. I like it.
Definitely. But it was still not the right time, because at the time I was starting my last job and I was still happy. It was still all right, interesting. And it was also my husband who wanted to change job. We decided that basically we let him do his career first, change. At that time I had one child, so I didn't have that much time because I was in a full-time job, but I basically took it as a hobby. And whenever I had time, I was doing courses. I started exploring different languages, Python.
What did you start with? Which language did you start with?
Yeah, that's interesting, because my big problem was that I didn't know what I should learn and how to apply it. Because I started with the web development course, so I learned, HTML, JavaScript.
Yeah.
And CSS. But what do you do with it? I built a website for myself, but I wasn't good enough to build it for somebody else. And that's why I just took it as a hobby. And then I started exploring Python, but again, I didn't know how to apply it. Basically I learned about how to create a function, but how do I use it? What do I do with it? I had no clue. That's why I decided to make games, because I at least knew that, it was something that my children might play. And I actually started learning Unreal Engine. And so, yeah.
You had never played computer games. So as a child, you had interest in computer, nothing. You just thought, okay. And at this point, how old are your kids?
I had just one at the time, and Tom was about, I would say 3, 4.
So what kind of games did you try to make?
Yeah, counting one, of course, because he was in the I created a dungeon, because it was 3D dungeon where he was moving numbers, and they had to basically give him the right so that he can go into the next dungeon.
From there, you learn, obviously you started on web design, then you started learning Python, then you started making games. But at this point, you're still in full-time work and a full-time mom, then what happened?
So it was the time when I started thinking about that I really enjoy it. It was also the time when I stopped enjoying my job in science that much. But also it was time when we wanted to have a second child, because I was almost like, almost 35, right? Like into the age when basically I want to have a second one. And so we decided, it was actually my decision, okay, I'll have a second one, and during my maternity leave, and now listen to this, it was always like, if the child is a good child and is quiet and basically, doesn't cry too much, I'll have all the time in the world I want to learn. And then after my maternity leave, I'll try to change my career. But my second one was everything but a quiet baby.
Right.
It was
of course. Yeah.
To be honest, it was tough. I found the guilt that was the biggest problem I had, because I was like, with my first child, I was going to these baby massages, I was going for long walks. As my second one, I was learning, and I really felt guilty. I was like, is it really the right thing to do? I would end up crying, for
remember it later though.
Like, you want to be a good mother, right? And you just don't want to feel like a failure. And
so what did you learn during that period? How many different courses did you do, and what languages did you learn?
There was a time when I decided to create a portfolio.
Right.
So I started doing Ruby on Rails and React. I basically did a research, because at that time I realized that I will not find a job as an Unreal web game developer. That was like, I definitely realized that. And so basically I look at the languages people use the most and where I could have the highest chance to get a job.
As soon as you'd done that and you got your first job, so you qualified, did you find it hard to get a job once you'd done that?
Yeah, it was actually interesting, because I still wasn't decided 100% if I should change my career or not. But when I went back to my science job after maternity leave, I really wasn't happy. But I'll give it, I don't know, 3 months, and I'll see how it goes. Because of course we also had to discuss with my husband if he can afford it financially, because I was on an okay salary as a senior scientist, and he was still quite junior in his new role.
Yeah, so it's a big decision. It's a family decision, isn't it? It affects everything then, right?
And we had 2 children by then. We had a child in the nursery, which is very expensive. We had a mortgage.
Expensive.
So it was very difficult. But again, we talk about it and we decided it's more important for me to be happy.
And then did you interview with a lot of places to get your first job, or not many?
So I found it really difficult to get any interview, because when the recruiter saw my CV, they were like, oh, amazing, you got a PhD. But nobody wants you because you got a PhD in software development, right? They don't care. They basically mainly want the experience. So even though like recruiters were really getting in touch and they were like, oh, we'll definitely find you a job, nobody wanted me. And then one day I put my CV on CV Library and I got a call within an hour. And it was a talent person from one company in Manchester saying, oh, we saw your CV, we need somebody who basically, we don't care that you don't know anything about programming. We have this language which nobody knows anyway and nobody wants to do. So, and I was like, oh, come. So basically they were trying to sell me the job. It was really nice.
Brilliant.
And we were a small team. There was basically just the 2 programmers, tester and a product developer, product lead. And we were the same age, which was the most amazing thing. I thought I would work with all these 25-year-olds. But my first job, we were the same age. And even the programmer was older than I was, and he was a chemist. And he also changed his career.
So
that's why they wanted me, because they had him. They knew that basically scientists have good logic thinking, and it's based on him.
That is amazing. I'm proud of you. I have no right to be, but I feel like,
Thank you. Yeah, to be honest, the first job was really good, but COVID happened then. And
of course.
COVID, to be honest, for me, COVID was really bad for everybody, right? But basically what happened to us was that our team got dissolved because the company decided to move us into their main product, which was React and Python. So for me, it was the best thing which could have happened, because it enabled me to basically work with Python React, which, you know, the most, like, you know, Python is one of the most popular languages.
Yes.
And React is a very popular library as well. So even though I really missed my previous team, I kind of was happy about it, even though, you know, imagine COVID, you've got 2 children at home. They give you a completely new job, basically. You don't know the people on the team very well. You have
keep it together. Everyone's fighting in the background. You're like, yes, it's fine.
And then new programming language. So it was really stressful. It was really hard. That's how.
Your story's amazing. Brilliant. I'm blown away by it. I just think every time, because so many of us just sit there and think this is what it is. It's not ideal. You know, you could have just plodded along in a job in science that you weren't happy with, that you were bored in because of your life commitments and constraints and childcare and, you know, all those things that are sort of stacked against us to be able to make a change. And you thought, no, stuff it, I'm doing it anyway. Brilliant.
Yeah, it was brave decision and it paid off. To be honest, I'm really happy I did it, because
it's a really brave decision. What would your, just before we finish, and I could talk to you forever, what advice would you give to somebody if someone like me was thinking, right, I think I want to give it a go and swap over and learn how to be a developer? Where would you suggest they start? Where do you
think? First of all, you need to find out if you are really passionate about it. Because if you are getting into your 30s, 40s, I think you don't want to make another career change afterwards.
Yeah.
So I would really recommend trying to find, you know, probably try to think about if there is a project you'd like to build. I know this is really difficult. That was my biggest problem, because I didn't know what I want to build. And that's why I was losing the passion at the beginning about it. And that's why I started making the games, because it was something I was really passionate about, and actually I saw my children using it. I saw my children using my products. If you start just learning a language, you'll get bored. It's what happened to me, because you need to see the application of your project, right? You need to basically see other people using it. It's what programming is about. I call it like a mental art.
I love that. It is. But no one wants to do something that they can't see a result from, right? I think that's the thing, isn't it? You want to be able to see something coming to life, whatever it is that you try and do. So you're right.
Even if it just means writing a script, which then basically, for example, if you need to calculate some numbers, right? At least try, for example, just write a script in Python. And when you run it in your terminal, it will basically just do the calculations for you. If, for example, you need to know how much you saved per month instead of using an Excel spreadsheet, you can try writing a script. At least, you know, something small, but use it.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing this story. I've absolutely loved the chat today. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm hoping this is going to inspire some other people to, you know, give things a go and just try, even if it's not software engineering, or software developing, or, you know, it could be something else. But if you're sat there thinking, the worst that can happen is you can try it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you think
you tried,
but go for it. Basically, life is too short. Try not to regret your decision. I sometimes do it, especially at the beginning, but I learned that basically it will destroy you. You have to be, as you say, you have to be proud of your achievement.
Yes.
Even if you fail, it doesn't matter. You tried.
I agree with that. And also it's better to have, you know, to have tried something can change your mind than not try at all. It definitely is, because at least you've given it a go, you know?
Exactly.
Look, thank you. I really appreciate your time. And I know I've taken up nearly half an hour of your time. I don't even know how I'm going to edit this, because there's nothing I want to take out. And I will speak to you soon. And I'll put the links of everything down below. And if anyone's interested in learning any more about anything or whatever, I'll put some links I'll try and Google and find some interesting projects that people can have a look at and things like that. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.